Welcome everyone, and hi Ibi,
Hi,
how are you?
Costa. I'm good, thank you. Just listening to the rain here. It's a very rainy day, and it's bringing, in a way, this energy of what we want to contemplate today. Yeah, how about you?
Nice. On my side, it's different. We have through the windows, you can see it's shining nice and bright, and we'll have 30 degrees. So let's see if we can bring this into our, um, discussion today on the gene key we're going to explore, which is gene key 28, and its shadow is purposelessness. Good word. So
Purposelessness.
purposelessness, and I'm saying it wrong again. Purposelessness.
Purposelessness.
Purposelessness, and the gift is totality, and then the city is immortality. And it's an interesting gift because it holds a theme of embracing the dark side, embracing your shadow, all the darkness that comes from all our humanity, or definitely what's within us. And it's about allowing that to unfold and it to come out, so it can be honored, and therefore you can give it space for the healing to take effect. And so, um, a few things I want to mention here is when it comes to um, shadow work, or if you want to call it evil and the good versus one another. Two good ways I know of how you can get rid of evil is by not feeding it. So you don't actually allow it to keep going on even after years or grievances that you have with people. Not always, obviously, easier said than done. Or the second thing is you just allow it to be, and by allowing it to be, then you're not resisting to it, and therefore you can forgive yourself in the moment. And that's what happens when you become total, is because your fully attention is in the moment. So by giving full attention to the present moment, you are also forgiving at the same time, because it's allowing something to just to be without adding any layer or story to it. And the other thing too is not to fight darkness with darkness, because you make it bigger that way. That's why wars in the political realm, or wars in anything, doesn't create a unifying aspect, because you're dividing something and you're making it separate. And one other thing I want to just mention here off the bat of that is um, the idea of the cross. And the cross is, if you look at it at a horizontal level, it can be like the time that we give, the darkness, its its level of fuel. So, or whatever we do in time, like psychological time or passing of time, we're waiting for something. And then in the vertical line, we have the present moment. And so when you have the two together, they come alignment. So it's like doing is on one level, and then being is on another level, and they come together. And that's something that you also see in the activation sequence with the cross, or with the four pillars. You have your being, you have your doing, or your becoming. And the becoming is always something that's happening on an internal level, and then it happens and shows itself on the external level, when the cross meets at the still point in the middle. And in the profile, you could see that as being like the SQ of when your heart is fully open, then everything else becomes open, because you're transforming it, you're embodying it, you're transfiguring it like Christ would. And so this is what then becomes that immortality access, where time doesn't exist anymore. You're in that still point the whole way through. Time doesn't exist. You're always here, you're always now. You're not even a body anymore. You're just one conscious. And so it's like the merging of both the activity and the being in one, as one conscious. And therefore, all life is full, all life is. And it's like the unmanifest becomes manifest as one. And anyway, I don't want to go too esoteric on this, but that's how you become immortal, because nothing ever dies, everything just is. And in the unmanifest, even though we can't talk about it, to be is like being reversed back onto itself in a way. So yeah, that's immortality. So there's a lot there I shared, but yeah, if you want to take it away from here, please do.
Thank you, Costa. That was a very nice opening of this field of energy, and it's interesting that um, at your side you have the sun and this beautiful sunny day, and on my side is this dark gray clouds of the rainy day. And I say that this because my experience with this key, which is carrying the fear of death at the core, and also the fear of dying without fulfilling your purpose, dying before you had the chance to do something important, or to leave a legacy that proves that your life was worthwhile. And this meaningless of life is felt at the shadow frequency. And for me, in the first part of my 6-line cycles, in the 3rd-line cycles up to 30, and even in the middle part, I had this feeling, or this idea, that light is very powerful. And if I believe, or if I work only with the light, darkness is not even there, doesn't exist. So I was denying completely the dark side, my dark side, but also the dark forces in the world. And it was interesting that, because it worked until one moment, probably in the middle of those 40s, when I had a direct encounter with the dark forces and how they work. I actually discovered them as a very powerful force, and it showed me it showed up in my life in a very interesting way. Maybe one day I will tell the story, but it was very physical, invisible forces, these dark forces, but it was very physical contact with them. And I realized that I cannot deny anymore. And they were showing up to bring the awareness of my own dark places as places of power, of my power, that I was denying and I was not accepting. For me, having the 10th key was very hard to behave, or to accept, or to not to hide behaviors that were making me not a good person, a bad person. And that was one of the ways I was building up an image that was becoming then really, really constricting, really limiting, and not authentic enough. And so this encounter with the dark side is one step that we need to do, to find the courage to look into the face of the fear itself, and to embrace it as part, half of our being, of our living, and the source of true power and totality. So when life feels meaningless and heavy, we tend to go into distraction or depression, or we take risks and become reckless in taking those risks just to avoid that fear. And it's interesting for the lines of the 28. It appears the first line may be as a fear of death, overwhelming fear of death, and trying to avoid all the health issues, or feeling this hypochondria, the second line may be the fear of not being seen, not being seen by the others, not being important or not matter. Then the third line maybe is the fear of failure, of failing, and not having a purpose. And the fourth line may be the fear of not belonging to anything that is worthwhile. And the fifth line, not finding solutions for life to be worth living. And then the sixth line, the fear of death as annihilation. Yes, it's so this was my first encounter with the dark side, and realizing how much I was denying. And this is also happening, or was happening, with a big part of the spirituality of the spiritual people. They are very much into the light and this fluffy believing that there is only light and angels and I don't know, Arcturians and all sorts of warriors of light, but they're not grounded, and they are afraid actually of their dark side and how it could manifest in real life. So, yes.
Yeah, the idea of not understanding your dark side, or your, you know, your shadows, your fears, um, or your suffering, makes you also very hollow, right? I think it's the repressive nature of purposelessness, and therefore you just live at a superficial surface level to life, because you're not being authentic, like you mentioned at the start. And I've found two main ways that can help you bring in the totality. Obviously, it's one is through suffering, but you do it consciously when you're aware that you are suffering. I mean, it could be physical pain, which then will take your awareness into that. But if it's psychological pain as well from mental afflictions, then being aware of that is what creates the conditions for transformation to occur. And that's why in Gene Keys we have the pause, because it's to bring yourself back into the moment. And then the second one is obviously contemplation or meditation or prayer or invocation, or those, all those means would also bring you into a space of depth, and again, like I mentioned, a place of being. So that helps you strengthen and merge with your surroundings, both your inner and your outer environment. And yeah, we have to come to our suffering. We have to be the ones that have to make the difference and say, no, we want to live a more deeper, fulfilling life. So it's about meeting death every moment. And it's the death of the old self. And as Buddhists would say, that seeing everything that's around you as being empty. And the emptiness is where it holds the potential, and therefore tune into that. tune into those invisible forces, which are both good and dark. Again, I'm going on an esoteric spin here, but the first, from my understanding, the first triune of truths that came out from the universe was through three rings. You had the ring of cosmos, which came out as space and movement. Those are the first two things. You also had light, and then you had the third activity would be sound. So that's where you get vibration. But essentially, the second ring was a ring of chaos. So it goes in the opposite direction. So if you look at the good as being cosmos, the bad as being chaos, you need it, because without it, then things spiral out of control. There needs to be a container, and that container then happens to be the third ring. It's called the ring pass knot. That's also mentioned actually in the Gene Keys. I'm not sure if the founder Richard Rudd knew about this, but it's what contains the two, so they don't, so you hold it together. And the idea of a human being is we have these three rings within us, and it's about being able to go through our own ring pass knots, our own patterns, our own consciousness, so we can bring it a higher quality of life and consciousness. And so immortality can be seen as passing through these ring pass knots, as a way of using both light and darkness as a means to be totally present. So we need them. That's why I love personally the Gene Keys, because it's not taking the shortcut. This is the shortcut. It's just using whatever moment is taking you in for a means to reinvent yourself, or just to be present and just to be. So yeah, that's it.
Yes, I like that contemplation, and I feel this 28th archetype has such a great potential to actually bring the awareness of something that is, in a way, hard to grasp, and it feels very abstract. So totality is actually the moment when you are not afraid of challenges that life is bringing, in whatever form, in whatever dark form appears, but you approach them as you find them interesting. The moment when we are not denying anymore that we are living in this world or universe of light and dark, day and night, duality that needs to be brought together in the moment through the courage of meeting every moment with full openness and living it fully. So for me, immortality is not about living forever, is not about the Highlanders, so living forever, but touching the eternal inside the moment. In that moment when, I don't know, you watch a child playing and you get lost in that moment through your own experience of your own childhood, or I know your ancestors, you realize that everyone went through that stage of purity, and that is inside us. So those moments when you can touch something eternal and you realize that you cannot die, death is just half of life. So is fully part of life, and life and purpose is not limited to just one lifetime. You can have a different perspective of what does it mean to create meaning, we say, and we are searching and looking for meaning to discover what's the meaning of life. But actually, this 28th and its relationship through this channel that is made in a body graph with the 38 says we create the meaning by living life as and find something worth fighting for, and living each moment fully, not being afraid to live it fully and to meet whatever life brings fully. So immortality is actually achieved through creating meaning that has this timeless quality, and not something that is, I don't know, being important or being successful or being a feeling that you matter because you did something extraordinary, is actually that connection with the selflessness, when you are able to give meaning to the moment, to your life, through something that is selfless, something that is altruistic. And this is the connection with all these keys that are in the spleen, that they are representing primordial fears. And the 28 holds, in a way, the secret of transcending these fears, these primordial fears, through being aware, through becoming aware of death. And that exists in each moment inside of us. So it's nothing to be feared, but something to be understood and embraced. And through this, totality is able to bring its gift and to become this great and meet life in a different way. Another aspect that is very interesting to me in this key is the risk taking. So the reactive nature of the shadow is this gambling and shaking hands with the devil, right? So gambling is having many forms. It's not just playing poker or playing whatever. It's also this urge to take a risk so big that it can be self-destructive in a moment. And it's maybe the feeling, and I know that feeling. Sometimes I feel like taking such a big risk and nothing matters anymore. And by contemplating it, I realize that is this screaming inside me of I don't accept to not matter. Is even if I is the hope, in a way, to, by taking a big risk, to win and to prove that my life is worth, that I matter. So yes, it's such a vast area that is covered by this key and this archetype
Yeah, it's a very healing key, isn't it?
also. Yes.
Right. Because if you're putting your present in the moment, then it's also healing. It's allowing things to the dross to move to the side, and yourself to bring in a new energy as a way of 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 life, of being one with life. And also, again, if you look at the keys next to it that make up the 28 with 27, you got selflessness, and then 29 you have devotion. So it's putting your presence here and now, and when you're here and now, all you need to do is you give, because there's nothing else. There is no self in that as well. So it's a very healing aspect of being able to bridge those two extremes into one. So again, just to cut it short, again, if you guys have got any comments you'd like to make, feel free to leave them at the bottom, and any ideas or questions that you may have, feel free to write to us, or just jot down your thoughts of what you contemplate on when it comes to the gene keys.
Yes, thank you, Costa, and thank you everyone for being here. And yeah, see you next time.